Okay, lesson 24, we're applying what we have learned about decimals and fractions into word problems. Jesse takes his dog and cat for their annual vet visit. Jesse's dog weighs 23 pounds. The vet says his cat weighs 5/8 as much as the dog's weight. How much does the cat weigh? So if you were to draw a tape diagram, the dog weighs a total of 23 pounds, and it says the cat weighs 5/8 as much. So we're looking for 5/8 of 23 pounds, which means that's 5/8 times 23, which equals 5 times 23 over 8. Now 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 2 is 100, so it's 115 eighths. So 115 divided by 8, 8 goes in 11 one time, leaving 3, bring down to 5. 8 goes into 35 4 times. 4 times 8 would be 32. Leaves a 3. Put in a decimal. 8 goes into 30 3 times. No, excuse me. Yeah, 3 times. That'd be 24. And that's going to give us 6. Bring down the 6. 8 goes into 60 7 times, which is 56. Leaving us 4. Bring down our final 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. So the cat actually weighs 14.375 pounds. Okay, an image of a snowflake is 1.8 centimeters wide. If the actual snowflake is 1/8 the size of the image, what is the width of the actual snowflake? Express your answer as a decimal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a tape diagram. And it said the actual snowflake, or the image I mean, was 1.8 centimeters. Now it says actual size is only 1/8 of that. So that's 1/8 of 1.8 centimeters. Now I'm going to rewrite this decimal as a fraction because it's easier to deal with. So I have 1/8 of, which means times 1 and 8/10. I use my commutative property. I can do 1/8 times 1 plus 1/8 times 8/10. Now, when I rewrite this, I'm actually going to end up with, because 1/8 times 1 is 1/8. Now, for this one here, I'd end up with 1 times 8 over 8 times 10. So when I took out my 8s, I would end up with 1/10. So now I have 1/8 plus 1/10. Now to add these two fractions together, I got to find a common denominator. And I could go with 80, but I want to see if there's a lower common denominator. And I know that the 10 is always going to end up with a 0 at the end. So let's skip count by 8. 8, that'd be 16, 24, 32, 40. So 8 can go into 40. So if I wanted to change this to 40, so I'd have 1/8 times 5 over 5 for this one, plus 1/10 times, and I know I'm going to multiply that by 4 to get 40, so I have to do the top also. So now I've got 5/40 plus 4/40, which equals 9/40. Now, I want to convert this into a decimal, because this is 9/40 centimeters. This says to convert it to as a decimal. Now, I know with 40, I can't turn it into 10. 40 cannot go into 100, but 40 may be able to convert to 1,000. So let's go ahead and divide 40 into 1,000 and see what we get. 40 goes into 100 2 times. That's going to give us 80 with 20 remainder. And 40 will go into 200 5 times. And I know that because 5 times 4 is 20. So 5 times 40 would be 200. So I know that I can convert 9/20ths to thousands, because I can do that by multiplying by 25 and 25, which is going to be 1,000 on the bottom. Now 25 times 9, I could multiply it out, but I do know that 4 times 25 is 100. So 8 times 25 is going to be 200. So it's going to be 225. Now, since the 5 has to be in a thousandths place, this is going to be 0.225 centimeters. So that's the answer. 0.225 centimeters. Now, if I wanted to check this, since it's 1/8, I could multiply that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply that by 8, because 8/8 should equal 1.8 centimeters. So let's go ahead and multiply by 8. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 2, excuse me, that should be a 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, and 4 is 20. 8 times 2 is 16, and 2 is 18. 8 times 0 is 0 and 1. Now I have to put 3 place values back in my decimal, so I end up with 1.8, which is exactly what we started with. Okay, 3. A community bike ride offers a short 5.7-mile ride for children and families. The short ride is followed by a long ride. It's 5 and 2/3 times as long as a short ride for adults. If the woman bikes the short ride with her children and then the long ride with her friends, how many miles does she ride altogether? Okay, so I'm going to use 2 different tape diagrams here. Here's the short ride. And we know this is 5.7. Now, we know that the long ride is 5 and 2/3 times as long. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, and I'm going to take it out 6 times, because there's 1 time as long, 2 times as long, 3 times as long, 4 times as long, 5, and this one here is only going to be 2/3. So this is the long ride. Now we know each one of these is 5.7. So the sum of those, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we take 5.7 times 6, 7 times 6 is 42. 6 times 5 is 30, and 4 will be 34. I got to put 1 place value back in. So I know this distance right here is 34.2 miles. Now I still got to figure out this last one, which this here is going to be equal to 2/3 of 5.7. So now I got 2/3 times 5, and I'm going to change the 7 to 7/10. And once again, I can change this to 2/3 times 5 plus 2/3 times 7/10, which that's going to give me 2 times 5 over 3 plus 2 times 7 over 3 times 10. And this is going to give us 10/3 plus 14/30. Now we can see right away that we can convert the 10/3 to 30ths. So I'm going to go 10/3 times 10 over 10 and add that to 14/30, which gives us 100 30ths plus 14 30ths, which gives us 114 30ths. Now we've got to divide it, find out how many miles that is. So we got 114 divided by 30. And I know this that it will go 3 times, which is 90. Fourth would be 120, so it has to be 9. And that is, excuse me, it's going to be 3 times, because that's going to be 90. That leaves us with 24. That's going to be 24 30ths. So now we're going to end up, we can go ahead and add our 3 into here. Now we've got 37.2 miles. But we still have to add in the 24 30ths. So 24 30ths. Now, one thing I do know is that 24 30ths, if I divided that by 3, okay, because that'd be 3 times 8 and 3 times 10. Take out my 3's, and now this is actually equal to 8/10. So now I'm going to come up here at top left, 37 and 2/10, and I'm adding in 8/10, which will give me 0.38 miles. So his total ride was 38 miles. And let's do an estimate to see if that sounds right. Because if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, if I did 7 full rides and each one was 6, that'd be 42. But it's going to be less than 42 because we only did 2/3. So that answer sounds reasonable. Sal bought a house for $78,524.60. 12 years later, he sold the house for 2 3/4 times as much. What is the sale price of the house? Okay, so we're going to start off just with a typical tape drawing. And we know this was when he bought it. He bought the house. And this was $78,524.60. Now it says he sold it for 2 3/4 times as much. So if you looked at a drawing, okay, I would end up with 2 of them, which would be 78,524.60 and 78,524.60. And the third one wouldn't be a full one, but it's going to be 3/4 of it. So this would end up being 78,524.60 times 3/4, because it's 3/4 of that value. So the easiest way to solve this problem would be to add the 2 you know, which are 78,524.60, and we can multiply that by 2 instead of adding it twice. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 6 is 12, carry 1. 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 is 9. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 8 is 16, 1 is 17. And 2 times 7 is 14, and 1 is 15. And we have 2 decimals, 2 decimal places we have to put back in. Now we're looking at 78,524.60 times 3/4, which equals 78,524.60 times 3 divided by 4. Now there's no easy way to do this, so since I've already multiplied by 2, I'm just going to add another 78,524.60, because that'd be 3 times that value. That'd be 0, 8, 13, 7, 5, 15, 8, 13, and carry 1 for 2. So now we have 235,573.80. So now we're going to take that value, 235,573.80, and we're going to divide that whole large number by 4. And 4 will not go into 2, but 4 will go into 23 5 times. So that'd be 20. I'm going to subtract that, and we got 3. We're going to bring down our 5. 4 will not go into 35, but it will. We know 9 times 4 is 36, so it's going to be 8. And 8 times 4 is 32. So we're going to end up with a 3, bring down another 5. Once we know it's going to be another 8, subtract another 32 for 3. We're going to bring down a 7 this time. Well, this time we know it can be a 9 because 9 times 4 is 36. And we're going to have 1 left over. Going to bring down our 3, and I'm going to come up here since I need some room. 4 goes into 13. 4 goes into 13 3 times, which is going to be 12. And good 1. We have to put our decimal place in our answer, and we're going to bring down the 8. 4 going to 18 4 times, because 4 times 4 is 16, leaving us 2. And we're going to bring down our last 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20, with a remainder of 0. So this is 2/3 of 78,524. So now we're going to take our two values, which is 2 times, which was 157,049.20, and then we're going to add 58,893.45. And we end up with 5, 6, 12, carry 1, 14, carry 1, 9, 15, carry 1, 10, 11. And our answer is going to be right up here so you can see it better. So the sale price was $215,942.65. Okay, in the 5th grade at Lenape Elementary School, there are 4/5 as many students who do not wear glasses as those who do wear glasses. If 60 students who wear glasses, how many students are in the 5th grade? So we're going to go ahead and draw ourselves a tape diagram to try to keep track of this. And it says there are 60 students who wear glasses. So I'm going to go ahead and put 60. And they wear glasses. Now it says that there's 4/5 of students who do not wear glasses than those who do. So in other words, this is 4/5 of 60 that wear glasses. So 4/5 times 60 would equal 4 times 60 over 5. 5 goes into 5 one time, 5 goes into 60 12 times, so that equals 48. So there are actually 48 students that do not wear. Now they want to know how many students they are. So when I add 60 plus 48, I get 108 students. At a factory, a mechanic earns $17.25 an hour. The president of the company earns 6 2/3 times as much for each hour he works. If the janitor at the same company earns 3/5 as much as the mechanic, how much does the company pay for all 3 employees' wages for 1 hour work? Now, I told everybody not to worry about this problem, but I'll go ahead and work it out for you in case anyone tried it. And it starts off at the fact that a mechanic earns $17 an hour, $17.25 an hour. Okay, so this is our mechanic. And we know this is $17.25. Now it says that the president here, and here's the president, has $17.25, but it's 6 2/3 times as much. Now the last one says janitor. Let me come over here and do one for the janitor. Says the janitor at the same time earns 3/5 as much as a mechanic. So here is a janitor. And we know this is going to be 3/5 of 1725. And then the last thing is, how much does the company pay all 3-point wage for 1 hour work? Well, we already know what the mechanic is. So for the president now, we know we got 17, and I'm going to change this to 25 hundredths times 6 2/3. Now, I can multiply this out, where I would go 17 times 6 plus 17 times 2/3 plus 25 hundredths times 6 plus 25 hundredths times 2/3. Now the first one, we got 17 times 6. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 10 is 60. So it's going to be 102 when we multiply that out. Plus, this is going to end up at 17 times 2/3. Plus, this one we're going to end up with 25 times 6/100. Plus, this one we're going to have 25 times 2/100 times 3. I probably wondered why I wrote a lot of those out. I want to see if there's anything I can simplify before I do it. So I can see in the second one here, 25 will go into 25 one time, 25 goes into 104 times. So that's simplified a bit. On this one, 25 goes in here 1 times, 25 goes 104 times. So now when we rewrite this, we have 102 plus, and let's go ahead and simplify it. 17 times 2 is going to be 34 thirds, plus 1 times 6 is 6/4, plus on the other one we got 2/12. So now we have to add all these together, and we can see that we can turn them into 12s. And I can do that by multiplying 34 thirds by 4/4. And that's going to give me 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 30 is 120. So it's going to be 136/12. The next one is 6/4. We can do that by multiplying by 3/3, which is going to give me 18/12. So that's plus 18/12. And then we have 2/12. I like to add these two together first. Now I've got 136/12 plus 20/12. That gives us a total of 156/12. So at 156/12, now I could divide it like that. I guess I will make it easy. 156 divided by 12. 12 going to 15 one time. 1 times 12 is 12. Gives us 36. And 12 goes to 36 3 times. All right. So what we did for that, now we know. Hold on a second. Where am I at? Okay. So now we have 13. So we're going to add that 13 to the 102. And we got 115. So the president gets $115 an hour. Now, on the last one, so let's go. We put 115 here. We got 1725, and I like putting the decimals together. Now we got to figure out the last one with the janitor. Now the janitor was 17 and 25 hundredths times 3/5, which is going to equal 17 times 3/5 plus 25 hundredths times 3/5. So let's go ahead and I got 17 times 3 over 5 plus, and we got 25 times 3 over 100 times 5. And I know I can take 125 out of there and 425s out of the 100. To make that simpler, now we've got, well, this one would be 3/20. A lot of room here, so I'm going to go ahead. Now, coming back over here, we got 21. Oh, excuse me, 3 times 17 is going to be 21, and 30 will be 51. So we have it with 51/5 plus 3/20. Now, we can see we can turn this 51/5 into 20ths, add them together by multiplying by 4. So 4 times 51, and 4 times 50 is 200, and 4 times 1 is 4, so it'd be 204 20ths plus 3/20 equals 207 20ths. So this is what the janitor gets. So let's see now, 207 divided by 20, 20 will go into 21 time. Subtract that. We're going to put a decimal point, excuse me, 20 going to 7 0 times. Now we're putting our decimal point in there. We're going to drop a 0 down, and 20 goes into 73 times, which would be 60, which was 0. Drop another one, and 20 goes in there 5. So the janitor actually gets $10.35 an hour. So $10.35. Adding them up, we got 10, 6, 12, 40, 100. Come all the way down here to the bottom. $142.60 an hour the company pays all three. Now that's why I went ahead and told you not to do this one. It went way past our standard. But in case you were looking at it, I hope you could follow me with all the different work we had to do on that one.